Hey everybody, we are back. It has been a while. If you can't tell, my hair is much longer than it was. Been really kind of debating and going over in my head how this is all working. The adhesive holds, but it's very, very flexible and there's no rigidity to it. It's something that I've kind of, been debating, and why I've been out of the shop for a little while is really something's been bugging me about this. And I originally wanted to do all of these in fiberglass sheets and do the same kind of process, but I kind of got away from that. I kind of said, okay, well maybe I can do an easier route and go something with ABS plastic to be able to make this work. But I'm so much more familiar working with fiberglass and being able to make it strong and rigid, and being able to use the epoxy and making things a solid shape around that. So while this does glue and stick, it's a bit too flexible and bendy for my taste. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the ABS in places where it's going to be essentially taken away, like where we have with the tape on here, so that I'm not wasting fiberglass as I'm doing it. Got lots of ABS to make that work. And then I'm going to be creating flat sheets of fiberglass, trying to get the 1/8 inch thick or so that I can do this process with those and use actual fiberglass resin and mat and everything to be able to make those shapes strong and rigid. Same thing, makes it easier from a body filler perspective for getting things smooth after the fact. Everything that I'm familiar of working on with previous projects, whether that be the Batmobile or working on the wide body of my WRX. So that is where I think we're likely going to go with this. So a bit of a change in direction, getting back to where I wanted to be. I've been kind of losing some motivation thinking about this stuff, but now that I'm going to go back to the way that I originally wanted to do it, I think it's going to get my motivation back up and going again for this. So I'm going to use the ABS sheets as a way of being able to use it, for lack of a better term, a mold, a flat, smooth piece to be able to lay down different layers of fiberglass mat. Got some pretty thick mat that I'm using, and that is going to allow me to lay up some different layers on there, get a nice flat sheet of fiberglass, because you can't buy these things anywhere. I've been looking everywhere. I've seen some FRP stuff used for walls for car washes or things like that, but I can't find pure fiberglass sheets out there in any kind of size or thickness that I want, that's not going to be shipped from some corner of the world, or a crazy pricing that's on those. So I picked up a bunch of supplies that we'll go over, and we're going to start that process of creating those fiberglass sheets, and hopefully that will work. I've never made these sheets before. If they turn out, spirits will be high. If they don't turn out, I'll lose. So that's the next step. Let's see if we can create some fiberglass sheets. So these are the supplies that we're going to be using for creating our fiberglass sheets. I've got a great big roll of 1708 heavyweight fiberglass. What did I get? I think I got something like 10 yards of it. So the idea for that is that we'll probably do 3 layers, lay up 3 layers, let it cure for 4 or 5 hours, and then add 3 more layers on top of that. That should get us close to our thickness. Don't know yet, but we'll try it to see how that works. What we've got here is we've got our epoxy resin. This will be new for me. I've always worked with polyester resin. This is supposed to have a whole lot less odor to it and fumes compared to the polyester resin that I've used before. Typically less flammable than polyester as well. We've got the hardener that's in here, so it's a 5-to-1 mix for the hardener. It's got a pot life of about 30 minutes, so it'll start to harden and cure after 30 minutes. You can't work with it anymore, so that should give us lots of time to be able to lay down the different layers. We've got our mixing pots here to mix everything up in, some tongue depressors to mix up the resin, measuring cups to be able to measure the 5-to-1, some bristle brushes to help push some things down to some different areas there, and then we've got our roller as well to be able to roll out the air bubbles and roll everything flat onto those different sheets. And we've got our mold release wax here. So the whole ABS sheet will all get covered in wax to begin with, so that we don't get any bonding between the epoxy resin and the ABS sheets. So it's a matter of mixing that up, laying it down, and just letting it cure. So I'll likely get that all set up. We've got some bigger sheets of some plywood in there that we can use to be able to kind of lay things on to make sure that everything is flat and level so that we're not getting resin running everywhere. Some plastic drop sheets to be able to cover the edges of everything. So now all that's left is just to lay everything up and let it cure. While it's curing, try to do some other different tasks on the car for the next 4 or 5 hours, and then laying down the next layer of fiberglass mat. Now, no idea how much volume of everything that we're going to need, so I bought a few different things. We'll see how it lasts for us, and see how big a sheets that we can create with the amount of resin that we've got. So it should go a fair ways, but let's find out. Okay, so we now have 3 coats. So put 3 coats of wax. So coat of wax, polish, coat of wax, polish, coat of wax, polish. So 3 sets of rounds of polishing on there. So as you can see, we've got a nice glossy finish on our surface. So this has got us ready to be able to start to lay down some resin and fiberglass. So I will be cutting some sheets to the size with a little bit of overlap. And then starting to lay down some resin. See if we can get 3 sheets of fiberglass on here, on each, well, lack of a better term, mold, and then let them cure. Alright, so we've got the fiberglass. I got 3 layers on here. That's all the resin that I had is in order to be able to do 3 layers. Took a lot longer than I thought as well. So we will have this sit and cure for a few hours. We'll probably come back and take a look at it in the morning, see if it's thick enough or if I need to add more layers to it. At least I got a good idea now that 3 layers for the size of this is a full set of the supplies that I picked up. So we've got all of those sitting there. I'll just let it cure overnight. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut out this template here. This is kind of the floor that will be going onto the plywood, just to give myself a base to basically construct all the body on. So I've got that plywood there, and basically looking at the maps that Matt has created on, you know, which of the different pieces that I need to, how do I want to separate them, how do I want to put them together. Some I'm going to cover some of the wheels, so I want those to be removable. So just playing around with those aspects of it. So we'll get the floorboard cut out over here. All right, we've got the kind of temporary floor piece cut out here. This is kind of where it ends up going along the car. There's kind of like a center line down the car where the bottom panel goes. So the idea here is that we're able to lay out this floor piece, be able to connect the other pieces to it, essentially be able to create a cross section on the car so that we've got a midpoint to be able to build our stuff. You can see it there on the bottom of the vehicle as well. And then essentially these red pieces will eventually be, you know, cut away out of the body. So the main pieces here are more about being able to close up the space to be able to create the whole body shape that we want. So that's essentially what we're doing here, is we've got that piece, so it allows me to kind of take the fender pieces and the stuff that I'll be creating, and we're able to actually fasten it and secure it to the bottom and build everything in so that we know that the shape is exactly the way that it's supposed to be, because the panels eventually, with the cutouts on them, will be floating in space. So it gives us a way to be able to line everything up and get everything fitted the way that we need to and secured the way that we need to before trying to figure out how to make things float into space. So that's pretty much it for the day. I think we've got everything done that I wanted to. Don't know if that fiberglass is going to be thick enough or not, or if I need to do a couple other layers, but we'll check into that after 24 hours when it's had a chance to cure and look at it a little bit more. But that's it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully next one we'll see if we have a success or not on the fiberglass panels.